So when I tell you the journey chose me, it chose me. I know how I'm feeling. I know the fear that I was in. So I want to help escort other caregivers to help them find the resources and how to better care for themselves so they don't have to go through the challenges that I went through.
Hi, I'm Glennis Woods Mullins, and I love to help women to vibe, to be more vibrant, intuitive, beautiful, and empowered in midlife. So come on, let's vibe. Hey everyone, I'm so glad to have you here on the V.I.B.E Living Podcast. This is really a special edition of the V.I.B.E Living Podcast. I am so honored to have with me Carla Preyers. Carla Preyers, full disclosure, is a personal friend, but and colleague, because she too is in the field of wellness. And she's also what I would call my shero, superhero. She has become a great advocate for educating people about mental health, wellness, and from a mental health perspective, and also Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is probably one of the most diseases that is out there that has really been difficult not to crack in terms of causation and also how to treat it, because it seems that almost everyone that has Alzheimer's has a different kind of experience or exhibits the symptoms in a different way. And so right now, what's happening is that whole community is beginning to come together. Those people who have lost loved ones from Alzheimer's, those people who have loved ones with Alzheimer's, and beginning to start advocating for more money towards research and also advocating for awareness so people know what the symptoms are, what kinds of things they can do. And Carla Preyers is on the forefront of that. She is part of a documentary that's going to be released very soon called Facing the Wind. And it's being released in different cities all across the United States. And I saw basically on social media that it's going to be debuting in my hometown here in California. So I said, Carla, we got to get you on the podcast. We can talk about it and get it out there for the whole world to know about. Carla, welcome to the V.I.B.E Living Podcast. It's wonderful having you here today.
Thank you so much, Linus, for having me. It's an honor to be here with you.
Oh, it's an honor to have you. And I love what you are doing. Rather than me read your bio and all that kind of stuff and all the wonderful work you've been doing around dementia and Alzheimer's, just tell us your story. How did this all happen? How did you come to be so interested in what's going on with dementia and Alzheimer's, all the differences, and basically becoming an advocate?
I'll say it's not actually that I sought out to choose it. It chose me. My husband, he was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia. And in the beginning, when he first got this diagnosis, I didn't know what it was. Never heard of Lewy body. Most people, they heard about it from, that's what Robin Williams, that's what he had. And he didn't even know it. He just thought he was going crazy because of the symptoms. So that's how I got started. My husband, big diagnosed. He retired suddenly in 2014, and it took us 4 years to get a diagnosis. So that was a struggle. We missed all the trial studies. We missed a lot of the research. They do those studies on early, when it's early onset. So the place that I was in and the fear and the anxiousness, I was like, I know I'm not the only one. So what I did, I started researching. I just dove into the internet. I dove into Facebook looking for groups. I had groups here in Sacramento that I went to. So I ended up probably being in 6 or 7 support groups, 4 consistently. And so what I was noticing in these groups, that I was the only, or one of the only, but most of the time, the only person of color. And that bothered me. And we can't blame anyone else. We have to do the work and get out there and find it ourselves. But other than that, a lot of that, especially older folks, they don't have social media. They don't know how to get to the resources. So that's another thing that I want to open up. So when I tell you the journey chose me, it chose me. I know how I'm feeling. I know the fear that I was in. So I want to help escort other caregivers to help them find the resources and how to better care for themselves so they don't have to go through the challenges that I went through.
Yes, absolutely. Let's go back a little bit with the diagnosis. You said you had problems getting the diagnosis. Why was that?
They kept telling me, what is it? Not early onset, mild cognitive impairment. So that's like the stage before they give you the diagnosis of Alzheimer's or dementia or whatever. And they kept saying mild. And as time went on, like year 2, I was like, this is way more than mild cognitive impairment. So I started taking pictures. I started recording the way he walked, the way he hung up his clothes, the different things that definitely pointed out that this was definitely more than mild cognitive impairment.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kept tinkering at it. And I'll say 2.5 years, 3 years into it of me, because he retired suddenly in 14 because not knowing what was going on. I finally took him out of the network and I took him to Stanford. And they did the testing on him. And then I took those findings back to his doctor. And then that's when they ordered the PET scan. Now, I had no clue that they could have, I didn't know. It was in my ignorance. I didn't know what steps to take. I didn't know I could just really insist on getting a PET scan done. It would have
Mm-hmm.
told me something. In the meantime, him being the breadwinner, we sold the house. We were already talking about selling the house because he was so stressed out. But now we had sold the house and I had downsized and just getting my footing back and then caring for him. It was a lot to juggle during that time. But to have someone going through that, you got your loved one stressed. They don't
Right.
know what's going on. I think he had more knowledge of what was going on than I did because he was in the medical field.
Okay.
I had no clue. I just thought dementia, Alzheimer's, I thought you just lose your memory.
Right.
That
Right.
was
No
all
idea.
I thought.
Mm-hmm.
It
So
is.
tell me this because this is fascinating to me. You go ahead and you find out that he has this Lewy body dementia 4 years later. When did you begin to realize that not only did you need to take care of him, but you had to find a way to take care of yourself?
Yeah. One of the things that I do reflect back on, I remember a friend of mine, her husband had cancer. And I remember her working out really hard as a caregiver, caring for him. And that just stuck in my mind. And
Mm,
then knowing, I think back on how stress affects me, I knew I had to really take care of myself. So when I started doing that, I would go to the gym early in the morning while he was asleep
mhm.
and hit a good hard workout. And then when he got up, I worked out again with him because he got to the point he couldn't really do a strenuous workout. So that was what I did. And I could tell the difference when I wasn't. When I wasn't working out, I was more anxious. I was more short with him. And you have to remember, you got to play juggle, balance yourself, remembering that your loved one, that's not him. He can't help what's going on. He can't help this. And I had to remember I could not give him bad energy because if
Wow.
you give a dementia person bad energy, guess
Mm,
what? It's
mm.
going to come back to you triple fold.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I
So
had to manage my
because I
energy.
remember you were very positive all the time, very positive, very loving, very attentive. It was a beautiful thing to see. And I know we have some caregivers that are going to be listening to this. What kinds of advice can you give caregivers, not just with people that are dealing with dementia, but in general, in terms of ways to maintain that positive mindset in a situation that it can be so energy draining and sometimes very negative?
Oh, it's so easy to fall into the negative. But one thing that I did, I was adamant about my prayer time, starting my morning with prayer, gratitude. I only listened to positive things. I would self help, anything good, positive, upbeat music. And I kept that even playing for him 24/7 because it kept us both up. I kept positive people in my life. That is so important. You even have some people, they mean well, but they don't realize it's coming off. One friend, she was like, oh my God, that is so horrible. This is a horrible disease. Let me stop you there. I don't need help to be fearful. So don't, if you can't bring me something positive, don't bring me anything at all.
Exactly.
You
So you
know,
have to
she's
set
trying to,
boundaries.
She was trying to help me and prepare me for what was coming. That's not how you bring it to a person that's in the thick of it. Positive music, positive TV shows, uplifting music, prayer, meditation, exercise, all of those things. You got to work on yourself spiritually, mentally, and physically. It all
Absolutely.
plays a role.
You mentioned that he was diagnosed with the Lewy body dementia. And I don't know the difference. What is the difference between the dementia and Alzheimer's, or is there a difference?
Okay, so dementia is like the big umbrella. And then under the umbrella, you have Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, Lewy body, frontal lobe. It's all these different. So the big umbrella is dementia. All of it is dementia, but you have the little parts up under it.
I see. And
Yeah.
what is it about Lewy body dementia that's, let's say, different than than some of the other than Alzheimer's? Let's say, what's the difference?
Alzheimer's has stages 1 through 7. Lewy body, there is no stage.
Mm.
You can be at stage 1 to stage 7, back down to 3, back. It's just all over the place. Alzheimer's is a constant decline. Lewy body is a roller coaster, literally. Also, with Lewy body, you have the hallucinations, audible and visual. A lot of times their gait is off, or when they're walking, their arms are stiff, they don't swing. Lewy body's time frame, it usually is anywhere from 5 to 8 years. That is the most common. Now, I do know of some that last longer.
Mhm.
Alzheimer's, it can be anywhere up to 25, 30 years, maybe even longer.
Right. Now,
Yeah.
with everybody, is that because people say that people eventually die from Alzheimer because their body forgets to how to take care of itself, the brain starts operating. Now, for some reason, the lifespan for Lewy body is much shorter. What is that reason? Why is that?
They don't know just what that is. And a lot of the people in the different support groups I was in, a lot of them, they were able to comprehend what was going on. But see, for Patrick, I believe he had Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and Lewy body.
Okay.
So I don't think once he got to a certain stage that he really knew what was going on. But one of the guys, he has a podcast, him and Linda, the other girl that's in the documentary with me, they have a podcast. Curry has Lewy body dementia. He was diagnosed, I think, like a year before Patrick. And he still is able to, the reason why he does it, because he's able to tell what he's going through. He's able to articulate what his mind is doing, what his body, how his body feels, what hurts. Patrick couldn't articulate any of that. So
Wow.
when you meet one person with Lewy body, guess what? You've met one person with Lewy body, because there are no two stories the same.
Wow.
Alzheimer's, you can gauge it. But a lot of the things from being in support group, I knew different things about Patrick having a seizure. Had I not been in support group, I would not have known or recognized what was going on.
So what I hear you saying loud and clear, that one of the things that a caregiver should take a look at is finding a support group, because you have those commonalities, but also you might get even more information that you wouldn't even necessarily get from the doctors.
100%. I'm telling you, I got more from the support groups than I did from the doctors. And even the doctors even said, I was on a call about a week ago, and I was so thankful to hear this doctor say, I study brains. I've been studying brains for 15 years. I know brains. She said, but I don't know your loved one's brain. I want to work with a caregiver. That just warmed my heart, because a lot of times we don't get that.
Right.
And I was instrumental of getting a bill passed for the doctors to get a toolkit, an early diagnosis toolkit. So we got that passed a few years back. But you really don't hear a lot of the doctors really wanting to work with the caregivers, but we're the one hands on. We see, we know, and if nothing else, try to get the doctors to hear you. A lot of times I get that they need to talk to the patient, so they're trying to gauge on themselves. And because a lot of times the patients, they know they showtime. Showtime, they put on a mask and they'll go to the doctor. Oh, yeah, and can tell you what day of the week it is, tell you who the president is. But as soon as they leave, they might collapse because they held up such a facade, and they just collapse.
Why do they feel the need to do that instead of just tell the doctor what's going on? What was Patrick's reason for doing that, you think?
Now, Patrick did not do that. A
Okay.
lot of the times, Patrick was very adamant about he wanted me at all his appointments. And he told me, he said, something's wrong with me. I need you at the doctor's appointment with me. Now,
Mhm.
but these are things that I'm hearing in the support groups that they'll put up a front. And that's why a lot of times family members think that the caregiver is lying. Now, Patrick would, now when he's talking to family members, he
Mhm.
would come up, but not at the doctor's office. He would put up and you could not hear it.
That's an interesting point, family, because as a caregiver, I would imagine sometimes it can be pretty isolating unless the family's living there. How did you handle that dynamic of dealing with the family and knowing that you deal with him day to day, so you know what's going on, but the family is thinking something else? How did you go about dealing with that dynamic?
Initially, it was rough. It was really rough because Patrick didn't want the family to know. He
Mhm.
did not want his family to know. And I went along with it for maybe 6 months. And then I was like, I can't do this. I said, please. I said, I need this.
Right.
I need for certain family members. If you don't want to tell everyone, that's fine. But there was three family members that I needed them to know. I needed to be able to
I
communicate with
remember
them.
that period of time when you were they didn't know, and it was you were at that point where somebody else needs to know. You were at that point where
Mhm.
you needed to advocate for yourself. It's interesting too because I'm wondering if some of the reasons why caregivers feel invisible is how they are viewed by family members living outside the home. They're all into the patient and what's going on with him, but not necessarily what might be going on with
Right.
you.
Exactly. Exactly. They don't see it. They don't. I can remember when my bonus dad was taking care of my mom. And he would say things we didn't understand at the time. I need help too. I didn't, but everybody was trying to help mom. And he was older. So yes, the caregiver definitely needs help.
Yeah.
Check on the caregiver. What do they
Oh,
need?
I have some caregiver
Mentally.
stories. I have some
Hmm.
caregiver stories where the caregiver ended up passing before the
Yes.
patient.
Oh, yes.
You
Many
know,
times. Many
yes,
times.
yes, because
Yeah.
there's so much that you give out. But here's the good thing about what you have gone through. It's accumulated to this wonderful documentary. Tell us about this. Tell us about the documentary. How did that come about?
So again, because I said yes, it initially started me because I did not want to be up speaking in front of people. That was not my, nope, you couldn't get me. Me and my girlfriend fought big time about me speaking. This was years back. But then in 2020, someone approached me and asked me would I speak for Advocacy Day. And I asked Patrick, I got permission from him. I said, hey, the Alzheimer's Association, they want me to tell our story. I said, are you okay with that? He paused. He said, yeah. I said, and interesting, I'm just now remembering back. I said, are you sure? I said, one thing for sure, we're going to have to tell the family members, other family, well, I had three family members that I told, but then the rest, I said, we're going to have to tell them. They cannot find out from seeing something on TV or find out from someone else. We have to tell them. So he agreed. He agreed to me telling the story, and that was in 20. And then I had joined all these support groups. So in 2021, I'm in this other support group, the Lewy Body Spousal Support. And there was a girl in there, her name is Linda Sapola. She had a mobile home. So her and her husband, because her husband had the Lewy body, were going to travel across the country to meet all the caregivers in the group. So then someone at the Lewy Body Resource Center got wind of that. That's what they're going to do. They contacted this producer and the director, and they jumped on board and started following them everywhere they went. And all this transpired, I want to say in 2, 3 weeks' time. There was no preparation for the producers to jump on. They jumped on it. And so I think that's why the documentary came out so well because it was so spontaneous and they caught real raw stuff on the relationships, the love, the resilience, and the survival.
Yes.
Yeah. So when they decided that, and then midway through the documentary, there was a glitch. There was actually a couple of glitches in there, and we had to pause it. And you'll see that in the documentary because
I think I remember that. I think I
Uh-huh.
remember that. Yes.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So they did resume, and then you saw the second part of the journey, and you saw what Linda and I both are now doing.
It's
Yeah.
wonderful because it premiered at a huge documentary festival in New York City.
Mhm.
Recently featured on people.com. I saw that, but the executive producers are really interesting. Renee Fleming,
Uh-huh.
Yo-Yo Wong, who I absolutely
Yes.
love, and David Hyde Pierce, which I thought
Yes. Yes.
especially interesting. Do they have loved ones or something that are that have been impacted by dementia or Alzheimer's or Lewy body or any of that, or was it just an
You know,
yeah?
like I said, something I should know. They definitely interest them, and they are connected with. Oh, I just drew a blank. And her husband, Nikki, passed away. Mary Lou Falcone. I know
Mm,
they're connected with her, and her husband had passed away with Lewy body dementia.
mm.
And so one thing, like I said, it just came together. But let me do
Amazing.
say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were
Yeah.
very instrumental in it.
Every time I think of Yo-Yo Ma, I think about that particular episode on West Wing. I don't know if you remember. I'm a West Wing fanatic. So those of you who might remember West Wing, when he came to play in a West Wing episode, and that's the first time I had heard of Yo-Yo Ma, but everybody else had heard
Mhm.
of him. That's the first time. But he does
Mhm.
beautiful work, just standing.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing. Out of tragedy, so many times come things that are really marvelous. For me personally, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now if it hadn't been for the loss of my mother tragically being hit by a fire truck. And I developed an anxiety disorder as a result of all of that. And I wanted to heal from that. So I left corporate America and decided I would hang my shingle out 18 years ago to do something for wellness for women over 40.
Mhm.
Here I am. So, Carla, who knows where all of this will lead you as you keep moving forward with your advocacy.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Like I said, when they asked would I be in the documentary, I was, yeah, yeah. I already got permission a few years back with the Alzheimer's Association. Of course. Now I'm thinking I'm just going to be in a documentary. This documentary has grown legs, arms, antennas, and I'm getting literally phone calls from all around the country wanting to bring the film there to their city. So it is available. You can get in contact with me and we can see what we can do and get it into your area.
Oh, absolutely. For those of you
Mhm.
who are listening and this is all resonating with you, but make sure you check the links on the show page because all of Carla's links are there and reach out to her, let her know that you'd love to bring the documentary there to your city. I know it's going to be debuting in our home city, May 3rd of 2024 in Sacramento, but this is an evergreen podcast. I'm sure that Carla will be available this time next year if you want to still see the documentary. The whole goal and idea, I would imagine, is to get the word out, to let people know about this really amazing, I would say it's amazing disease that we don't know enough about. But raising awareness of what it is the first step, and raising awareness about advocacy and the importance of caregiving is a must because let's face it, all of us are getting older. All of our loved ones are getting older, and we need
So true.
preparing ourselves. We have a tendency not to prepare in this country about that. We don't talk about it, but we need to have that conversation. And thank you so much, Carla, for helping us have that conversation.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for taking the time to bring me to your show. It's an honor. Like the work is not done, won't be done for a while. So
Right.
the more that we can get the information out, let's stick together. Let's stick together
Absolutely.
and get it out.
And
Yeah.
things are accomplished by small incremental steps. So there you go. Thank you so much for being on the V.I.B.E Living Podcast. It's been wonderful having you here today.
Thank you.
And thank you to all of you who've been listening. You know, I love it when you spend just even a little bit of time here on the V.I.B.E Living Podcast. And while you're here, take a look at our other, I don't know how many episodes are on here now. We have 135 episodes for the V.I.B.E Living Podcast that are on this particular platform. Don't forget to check all the links on this show page so you can reach out to Carla if you're interested in the idea of finding out more about caregiving, finding out more about Lewy body dementia, and other things that you might be able to do to get the word out to advocate and educate. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. It's been fantastic having you. Have a great day, and don't forget to vibe. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks for listening to the V.I.B.E Living Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment, and share this podcast. Have a fantastic day, and don't forget to vibe. Bye-bye, everybody.